So those are the fundamentals that we cover. In fact, it's the same things that you've just said you're covering here with your prosperity, social prosperity. But what are our secrets? I'm happy to share them. We have 3 different, to use a big word, modalities of learning and ways of learning. What is it? Yes, we have session leaders, so they're bringing knowledge, bringing current trends. But what's equally important, in fact, many of us would say more important, it's the peer-on-peer learning that takes place around the table. How are you answering that question? This is what I've tried. And so it's that learning one with the other. And Waterloo will not do anything without experiential learning. Experiential learning, another big word. What does that mean? Yeah, it means sending your co-op students out to work in the jobs. Or in our case, it means let's go out into the community and work on some real projects, because we're not going to just sit in the classroom all day. So even in the 1-week course, we're saying let's get out into the community, talk to our partners, and make things happen. And you know what? That's often the most valuable thing, of saying, yeah, I liked that idea, and it really worked when I shared it with this new community that I've just worked with. Simple secrets. And of course, if you want academic credentials, then we carry on and say we've got a master's degree, you can specialize in this stuff, etc. We're a university. We sell degrees and courses, right? No surprises there. But the secret is, it's not just someone up front talking to the group. It's all of us working together. The big trends, of course, knowledge economy is value based on ideas. What's important today is absolutely different from what was important the previous generation. The previous generation thought that knowledge was important, and I'll gather it all together, and now I'm important because I've got all the knowledge at this table. Fundamentally the wrong model. In today's era, knowledge is only important when you give it away. And when I give it away, I actually have more knowledge because I know you have it as well as me. Wow. And so actually, once I've given you knowledge, the next time you're looking for something, guess who you're likely to ask? So rather than being sort of that hoarding of knowledge, saying it's mine and no one can have it, now the more you give away, the more you get. So it's all about flow. Wow. Share your ideas. That's what's going to change. We want problem solvers. If you solve that problem, you're going to be able to solve the next one. That's how we get the task done better. Sorry, just had to throw in this quote because I want to thank you for moving to a different table, because sometimes we get comfortable with a certain network. We've worked on that project before. I really trust you. I want to work with you again on it. But if we're trying to have a different answer, well, maybe we should have some different ideas coming to the table. Maybe we should invite some different people to the table if we're trying to come up with a different answer. So I just liked this quote of saying, if you want to innovate, turn that pecking order upside down. Unfamiliar work requires unfamiliar teams. You have to work with someone that you didn't work with before. Well, now that's not to say you can't take along some of that same capacity, but if you don't add something new, how do you expect to come up with new answers? We need to think creatively, bring in those new ideas, create that special team. And what's this word that's crept in front of entrepreneurship? We used to put the entrepreneur up on the pedestal of saying, wow, there was a person that created this wonderful empire. Look what she did. And it seems like she did it all on her own, or he did it all on his own. Reality check, none of us are doing it all on our own. Entrepreneurship is much more about collective action rather than just individual action. And I would suggest when we talk about social entrepreneurship and social innovation, we are fundamentally talking about us rather than I. Social prosperity, Wood Buffalo, again, we've covered this, but I just wanted to reinforce the 4 areas of focus that you'd identified, and to confess, I really liked the Northern Lights. And this photo was just, it said May 12th. Did you have great Northern Lights just last month? I mean, I thought, wow, sorry, it's a very special occasion. I don't see them very often, but wow, that's really spectacular. Beautiful photo. You've got to have engaged and happy people. You all know about the assets in your community. I don't need to talk about, you've talked about human capital investment as one of your priorities. Of course, it's why we need to have representatives here from Keano College saying, thank you, Russell. You know, we need to invest in our people because our people are our most important asset. We also, of course, have built capital, built assets. We also have, you know, natural assets, resources that we're extracting. The whole idea of which items you've identified as the key themes: social innovation, capacity building, systemic change, and sustainable solutions. We saw them this morning. I assume we're still in agreement. I wanted to do a little walkthrough very quickly. We've already defined social innovation, this truly large change that we want to engage. But I also like the simpler definition. It's actually an idea that works for the public good. What do I mean? Oh, that's back to that first slide of we want to make the community better. It's for all of our benefit. How do we do that? The driving force behind this social innovation is that social entrepreneur. I'm using the D's quote because, again, he's another high-tech guy coming from Stanford. But what he's doing is saying it's that passion of a social mission. I want to save the world with that business-like discipline, innovation, determination, the same as you saw in the business model of saying we too are creating change. We too are creating change. And it's not just a new 1990s idea. You go right back into the old French first term over 100 years ago defining the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is someone who undertakes change. We often thought of it in the case of business, but socially it's just as important. Schumpeter, thank you for the creative destruction. This is our original author of talking about cycles of creative destruction, but he again saw the entrepreneur as the change agent in the economy. Who's going to have the vision to go find a path forward from where we are today? I wanted to just share a little bit of experience because he's a professor. What do professors know? They read some books. Duh, okay. Sorry, books don't take you very far in the world these days, but I'm really lucky. I work at the University of Waterloo, and the University of Waterloo, I better lower my voice. I think the president is nearby for later on. I was going to quote a former president who said, lots of universities do lots of work defining the problems in our society. Waterloo focuses on finding the solutions. The problems are great, but we're happy to accept that that's identified as a problem. Now what are we going to do about it? And so I confess I've been involved in a few off-campus ventures as well. Reap Green Solutions is a local environmental organization. Its goal, healthier homes and sustainable living. What's it going to do that? How is it going to achieve it? With tools and knowledge. So it's been fun to be involved with them and using this social entrepreneurship model here to say what's happening to generate, in this case, green community entrepreneurship. Why am I calling it green? Because it's environmental. Why am I calling it community? Because it's collective. It's many people taking the initiative to make the change. In this case, I'm looking at some of the drivers. Of course, the previous slide showed you they want to have environmental benefits. That's not a surprise. But then I wanted to illustrate, if you like, Cheryl's slide on the cycle that we go through. You remember that big fire she had in the forest, the creative destruction? I have a confession. This project started as a research project for 2 years back in 1998. By 2006, I was sitting at my desk, 4:23 on a Thursday afternoon. At 4:17, our executive director had gotten an email, and the email said, funding cut. Tomorrow is your last day to offer services. So Thursday, end of business, we're told Friday is your last day of operation. I'm the chair of the board who Monday morning is meeting with 11 staff to say, I've no idea what we are doing. because I don't even know if we'll be allowed to use the software that we've been using and what our next plans were, because we thought we had grown tremendously, nice service, you know, the community was engaged, lots of good things are happening, but we only had the one service. And as soon as they said, "You're cut," it was the hardest day of my working life. 11 people, 11 friends. We've built this together. What are we going to do next? I confess, I'm a the glass is half full kind of guy. So I thought, we've got valuable people, we've got valuable skills, we can keep doing something, even if we're not quite sure what that is. And then the temptations start coming in. The great thing, of course, is the community is very supportive. So I get a phone call. "Paul, I heard about your trouble. I'll hire every one of your staff from you." Wow. Solve their problems in a hurry. But it meant we wouldn't have any of this organization left. It's a good way to transfer your capacity. Okay, well, that was option one on the table. I need to think about that for a little while. Sorry, not a decision to make on the phone call. Fortunately, within that first week, what happened? It's all about partnerships and networks. Within that first week, a community partner called up and said, "I like your work. I want you to keep doing it. We're going to find a solution. We'll help put some money on the table and we'll find a solution to this." My heart starts beating again, you know, it's just thank you, you know, I mean, it just couldn't have had better news. But the why it happened was because of a previously established working relationship, right? You've got a problem, I'll come in and help you. We didn't have the solution ourselves, but obviously we said, well, we're going to better start doing something about this. And so, yeah, we've got a pressure to make some change. We've got a funding shock. The market we've been in has just collapsed. So we then say, okay, we're going to start looking at some new services. And that's what we did. We identified 4 new services that we could do. And the confession, to make a long story short, 5 years later, that program then actually got reborn. So we were back doing even more of what we were doing before, energy evaluations. And so suddenly we're twice as large. Next time we get the email that says, "Tomorrow's your last day of work," we had 20 people in the organization doing twice as much work. But we also had several other programs, and it was actually a whole lot easier to think of what am I going to do, because I had been through that cycle of, you know, the fires burnt through everything. We've drawn up new services, and it's that whole point of we in the social economy can respond just as creatively. There are options there. But I really thank our partnerships, the capital, in terms of the network of those social contacts. It was the people that came through, that shared the same goals, that enabled us to use the skills in our human capital, in our people. So it's the positive story. Things can happen, but what does it mean? Those bright ideas that your staff brought, what does it mean like by last year? And so, sorry, this is for Tanya's benefit of thinking, what are the measures? If you actually look at, okay, a simple measure, how many evaluations were you making, comparing across the 10 groups across the province? The Waterloo, as you can see, has more than double the activity of anyone else in the province. So I would argue we had a pretty successful year. But again, it was because of new ideas that enhanced the service with new partnerships. There are external awards, again, just people saying you're doing a good job. But it's all about enhancing capacity. And how do we do that? To build that diversity, more services, to give you the resilience for overcoming that rainy day. It's all about partners and people and projects. That's right. Partners you can count on, people that can carry those ideas forward, and projects that gain the support of the community. When the leaders say, I want to see that happen, now we're talking about how are we going to implement it. That is the passion to make it move.